Welcome back to our live coverage of Octane 2025. I am your host, Mandy Logan, and I am joined right now by Mike Poole, who is the Director of Cybersecurity at Werner Enterprises. Now, before we launch into this, what is Werner Enterprises?
It's a trucking company.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We have about 10,000 trucks at any given time on the road. It's incredible.
And as we were speaking about right before this, critical infrastructure is near and dear to my heart, as is anything mechanical, anything having to do with trucks, trains, planes, automobiles.
There you go. That was a great movie, by the way, back in the day.
I mean, that was a long time ago, but yes.
Yeah, back in the day.
So right now, how often do you or your team interact with individuals who don't realize that there's a technological advancement going on in trucking?
Well, I tell you, we've got a lot of folks, about 4,500, sometimes up to 5,500, depends on the season, of headquarters associates. Most of them, it takes a little bit for you to tell them that, hey, we're a high-tech company, we're a target, we're a critical infrastructure, we have to protect it, and these are the things that you can do to help us do that, which is kind of the root of the cybersecurity culture, right? It has to bring it to that end user, give them the why, express to them, hey, this is how important it is, why it's important, so that then when you come back in and set policies, they don't look at that and say, well, that sucks. I don't want to be, held hostage by the cyber police, right?
Right.
And we don't want to do that either. We want to be a partner. We want to enable the business. But I think there's just a misconception out there that cyber defense professionals are the community of no. For a while, I think we were the community of no.
I agree.
But I'd say over the last 5 to 10 years, I've noticed a whole shift of, hey, we're not a community of no, because we recognize that every time we said no, the user still did what they were going to do. And it just presented more vulnerabilities, which is more work for us. It took us away from what we need to do. Right. Said, okay, we need to do this differently. Let's figure out what they need and see if we can offer a better solution that is also secure. And if not, we just say you got to assume some risk, and here's what it's going to cost in risk, right? And sometimes business processes, they just can't handle whatever cybersecurity control that we wanted to place on them, because maybe it's older technology, and it just can't handle it. And older coding can't handle the next, latest and greatest server load, et cetera. So I would say...
Wait, you're saying COBOL and Fortran aren't ready for AI?
No. But Fortran was really my favorite language back in the day, yeah. You could almost write it like normal language and it understood what you were saying. So, yeah, I figured out early on that programming wasn't my thing.
No?
The juice isn't worth the squeeze for me. You work for hours and hours. You compile your code and it comes back as an error somewhere, and it's because a comma was missing somewhere deep in the code.
Exactly.
And it takes you many more hours to find it, and then you find it and you click, compile, and it's done in a millisecond. Well, that was anticlimactic.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I kind of veered away from that, which is closely related to hacking. Hacking, that's programming too. And I took a couple classes in the Air Force about hacking. And we got a chance to do a capture the flag event, which I found was fun, but not to the point that I want to do it every day.
Okay. Now see, and I have now I don't do them all the time at all, but I always I have a saying when I'm with my hacking friends or groups or something, that there's always blood in CTF. If you take it deep enough, there is always. You do it at up levels you to have skin in the game in whatever security procedures you are undertaking, right? And with that, you were talking about the compiling, the missing comma, that one little thing that completely destroyed your entire end game from happening. How and why is that similar to, say, an individual in an organization or within your organization where the security culture bypasses them and they become an issue? Do you have that happen?
Certainly. It's just human nature to click on things on the internet, click on things in email.
Right.
Because something about that, either the site or the email was so entertaining to them or enticing that they just couldn't help it. Oh, I want to see that.
Right.
Whatever it wants to be. And it's funny, with the advent of AI, your computer seems to know what you're looking for. If I'm shopping for vehicles, I suddenly get inundated on Facebook or whatever with advertisements. And so that's how they do these phishing campaigns. They recognize that, you know what, for me, I'm into cars, right? Car parts, hot rodding, car shows, all that. So it'll probably try and entice me with, hey, we've got a car show coming up and such, click here to register.
Right.
Yeah, well, some people, I'm going to do that. Now, as a cybersecurity guy, I'm thinking, no, I'm definitely not clicking that, but I'll just go over here on Google and just look them up. and find out if they're legitimate or not, and then find a site that's not sponsored, because that's also a dangerous piece, right?
I do exactly the same thing. Like pretty much any ad, I don't know that I've ever clicked on an ad knowingly, but then I'm more security conscious. I'm not the individual, the random user.
And that's exactly what we want all of our users to become.
Exactly.
We want them to have that spidey sense that, oh, I don't think I should click that. Let me just go out here and figure it out on my own without using that link, right?
Yes. So how does that translate to what you have dug into in creating security culture?
Yeah, so honestly, the culture was already there. I've only been there for 2 years.
Okay.
Almost 2.5. But what I recognized was that we can always improve, we can always grow. So my job really is about maintaining momentum, building momentum even, making it better as we proceed through, this technological transition from on-premise to the cloud for Warner Enterprises. Comes with a whole new challenge when it comes to cybersecurity. And I've got an entire team devoted to figuring those things out, And so if you can get the average user to then fill in the blank, because technology can only take you so far against cyber, threats, they find a way in. Generally, it's social engineering and phishing, things like that. So if you can educate them, or at least ways empower them to make a different decision because they have now some sort of a contextual knowledge from what we give them, the why, which is so important. We give them the why as to this is why you're a target. Maybe your job doesn't seem like it would be, but the company as a whole is, and the adversary is going to look for every opportunity to get in, and it could be you, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's a long process, but we try and do a lot of creative things. I've got a couple of guys on my team that, their creative genius is fantastic. Cyber Awareness Month, last 2024. So yeah, last fall, they went out dressed as, fishermen, fly rod fishermen.
Okay.
Net, everything.
Okay.
They had a bag of Swedish fish, and they had these little cards that had 3 cybersecurity principles we really wanted to, get people to read and internalize, so to speak, right? And as they went around the headquarters in person,
was it through the office,
all dressed up like this,
right.
They got a lot of attention. You flip on Swedish fish, and then you show them the card, and you talk to them about cybersecurity. And when you do it face-to-face like that, it's something that most people just don't expect to see. They know about the click through the cybersecurity training on Know Before, and it's a hassle to them. They're not really learning anything from it, but they really enjoyed that approach. I got so much feedback of, that was really neat. They just came up and talked to me right at my cubicle, and gave me a Swedish fish, and it's just memorable for them. So that's one of the creative ways we do it. Otherwise, we've got our corporate media site that we put public service announcements on. I think that's how I would describe them. Okay. And it's based on whatever cyber threat is hitting the news, and especially hitting transportation in the news. So we'll take a look at that. So like deep fakes, phishing, all those topics that our adversaries are leveraging. Then we say, okay, how do we inform the headquarters, associates, watch out for this. This is how you can inoculate yourself against something like this, right? So it's constant. It takes a lot of energy to do it. And like I said, I've got a couple of guys on the team that are devoted to that. That's what they do because it's so important.
Okay, I've got to say, I'm kind of envying their jobs right now. And what about gamification then? It sounds to me like that would go right along with it.
Yeah, it does. So, and that's been a request from our CIO to get some gamification in there for the training to make people, I guess, interested in it, pique their interest a bit. And so we're doing a few things. One of the things this year we're doing is find Waldo. That's the theme behind it, right?
Okay.
And so what we've asked them to do is you got to go out to this area, generally like an IT policy or something like that, and find whatever word it was on the 5th sentence, whatever it is, right? And then they put that in. They entered in the our social site, media site. Workiva is what we use. And then at the end of the month, whoever answered the most and in the quickest fashion, well, they get an iPad or a Chromebook, something like that, right? So a little bit of gamification in the sense that people used to do that on the cereal box all the time. Where's Waldo? You trace through it, right? Now they're doing a scavenger hunt. So that's kind of fun. So
a scavenger hunt, and the end result is that they understand to look at a URL more clearly.
They do, yeah. And then when they say, I don't know where this policy is, well, you do now because you clicked on it, right? And we asked you to do it, and you found it, So how do you make things that can be so boring? I've got to say, sometimes it's very boring. It's pretty dry.
About access controls and whatnot. How do you make it more entertaining, aside from what you've already said? Like
some of that is the personality piece, right?
Right.
When they see cybersecurity professionals as other human beings, I think we get through a little bit better. So when we go out in person and talk to them, when I join staff meetings,
Right.
and I'm excited about it, right? So I can't help but bring excitement to the meeting.
Right.
Say, hey, check this out. This is really cool. And a lot of them are thinking, your definition of cool doesn't match mine.
No.
But, they get that I'm excited about it, and pretty soon it is a little contagious, right? And if we can get, our directors, managers, and C-suite folks to be on our side, buy in on it, that's a big win, because then they advocate to the rest of their team. This is why it's important. And as far as the culture we have at Werner, there's not a single town hall that we have that cybersecurity isn't mentioned.
Oh, nice.
So Derek Leathers, our CEO, he often talks about cybersecurity. Our president, Nathan Mescott, he talks about cybersecurity when he gets in front of us. And of course, Dara, my boss, the CIO, he's always talking about cybersecurity, and because he's passionate about it. And we are too, and we want to protect Werner the best we can. So yeah, we get them all involved.
That's perfect. I mean, I go back to a little bit of a different situation, but prior to being around cybersecurity, I was in construction, and a lot of times on construction sites, and every morning there would be the morning safety meeting. You would have the morning protocols of every morning. They'd have 5, 10, 15 minutes of different safety subjects that needed to be brought up constantly. And we found a lot of times now on construction sites, it was either usually a novice or an exceedingly advanced journeyman or a skilled craftsman that would have the problems.
Yeah.
One
of them doesn't know better. The other one says, I do know better, and I'm just going to do it this way.
Exactly.
And then they figure out that, oh, maybe I didn't.
I stood on this ladder on a bucket one time and was fine. So
yes. Oh, I get you.
So are there particular things you find useful in helping train your C-suite, like that experienced organizational individual versus somebody who's a novice to your organization? How do you balance both sides and then account for different learning styles?
Well, we do have to customize our educational material, depending on who it is. And I'll give you an example of our phishing campaigns most recently. We use KnowBefore for the majority of the population, but KnowBefore also gives you the capability to customize whatever that is going to be. You can write the message.
Right.
And so Dara, our CIO, says, whatever you guys are sending to the rest of the C-suite on behalf of our CEO, he said they don't fall for it because that's not how he writes. We have these salutations, and greetings, and nice language. He said that's just not how he communicates. He will literally communicate in one line, no introduction, no closing, and that's how he does it. He's very efficient. He's got a lot of work to do, so he's not going to take a lot of time to make fluff. So what do? We have a theme that happened to be going on that month that we know all the C-suite's involved in, and they crafted a specific message from Derek Leathers, one line, his tone, everything, and we got every one of them. That brings it home. That's what you're talking about. The expert way out here, they know the impact of the company, et cetera. That's why they're so concerned about it, but yet they got comfortable and clicked it, right? And now they're not going to. Now they're going to look at everything twice, right? They got to experience it. So sometimes it's just that custom approach. Sometimes it's just bringing up stats that are, quite frankly, impressive. If to anybody, 146 billion events every quarter is what our SIM ingests. That's a ton of events, right? That shows how much our industry is being attacked.
Right.
It could be all kinds of levels on that, right? We're not saying it's a nation state doing all that. But the fact that our tools and sensors caught it, that should be encouraging, because the C-suite knows how much money we're spending, right? And they want to see the return on that investment. And another term that I was recently introduced to is return on mitigation, which is a much easier picture to draw, right? Because that's our world. We mitigate, we try and prevent, knowing that we're not going to prevent everything, but we're going to do our darnest to do so. And then when that one thing or whatever comes through, now we're going to respond. And so then we have our instant response piece that comes in. And so every quarter we do tabletop exercises, and once a year, maybe twice a year, we'll bring the whole C-suite in, and they get to play along, because if there's a ransom event, they're going to be playing. They're going to be the ones making a decision. Who do we communicate? How do we communicate? Are we going to pay it? What are we going to do, right? They have to make those decisions. So we just go through mental exercises. This is how you do it. So that's another creative approach to get that expert out here, to get involved here and appreciate what we're doing.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Mike, for sharing this. And
Sure.
I have to believe that our audience will find key inspiration from ideas that you've brought, and I hope they look into your presentation from yesterday as well.
All right. Well, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
You're so very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please, to view all of our Octane 2025 coverage, visit securityweekly.com/Octane. We will be right back after this next break. Thank you.